The original Magic, the original Black Jesus. From the moment he entered the NBA, he was the league's biggest draw. He captivated fans with his never-before-seen moves. His style and elegance influenced future generations of NBA superstars. He was a pioneer in showing individuality and creativity on the court. He proved that you could entertain fans and still do what's necessary to win games. He is the greatest combination of basketball ability and showmanship. For many of his rivals, no one was a more dangerous one-on-one scorer. New York Knicks forward Dave DeBusschere mentioned that nobody can play Earl one-on-one because you never know which way he's going. And his former teammate Ray Scott went as far as to say that God couldn't go one-on-one with Earl. That was a skill that he displayed right from the beginning. In his rookie season, he averaged 24.3 points per game on 45% shooting. That was the 5th highest mark in the league. His offensive excellence gave new life to an organization that was stuck in mediocrity. They never experienced a winning season since moving to Baltimore in 1963. In the 1966-67 season, they took a turn for the worse. They had a 20-61 record, which was the worst in the NBA. They needed something that could help them win while also giving fans a reason to come to the games. Earl Monroe was able to do both right away. In the next year, they had a 36-46 record. That is a 16-game improvement. All of a sudden, they were now in playoff contention. The Baltimore Bullets benefited so much from having one of the best individual talents in the game. What makes that even more impressive is everything that he had to go through before the start of his NBA career. He was playing through a lot of pain. He had arthritic knees that also included bone chips and calcium deposits. According to the Bullets trainer at the time, his knees were swollen up to the point where they could be squeezed like sponges. There's another NBA trainer who doubted that he could last his rookie season. Apparently, there was no remedy. He told Sports Illustrated that the doctors told him that this was something that he needed to live with. Despite those physical limitations, he dominated his opponents. He wasn't the quickest, and he didn't possess impressive leaping abilities. It was simply his pure skill. He also had this unpredictability about his game that made it difficult for defenders to sense what he was going to do next. He admitted to the New York Times that he doesn't even know what he's going to do with the ball. If he doesn't know, then his defender would be even more clueless. Check out what his former rivals said about how much of a problem he was.
Best guy you played against on the playground?
Earl Monroe. He hasn't even crossed half court, and then he jumps up in the air and throws a pass with topspin. It goes 3/4 of the court, hits the ground, and catches somebody in stride that catches it and lays it up.
Earl could do things that other players wouldn't even attempt to do. And some people would have said that what he was doing was showboating, and it wasn't. What he was doing was just getting an advantage, and he used his incredible ball handling skills.
Earl was so flamboyant, so creative that, he could do something that he'd never even thought about doing and pull it off like he'd practiced it all his life.
In the following seasons, he would create even more problems for the league. The Bullets had the luxury of receiving the number 1 pick in the 1968 draft, and they selected Hall of Fame center Wes Unseld. He wasted no time in making an impact. He would later become only the 2nd player to win the Rookie of the Year and the MVP in the same season. He would serve as a perfect complement for a team that had some great talent. They had 5-time All-Star and Hall of Fame forward Gus Johnson. Then there was Kevin Loughery, who was one of the top scoring point guards in the league. They also had Jack Marin, who was an underrated wing player and could provide plenty of offense. They had the pieces necessary to contend for a title. In 1969, they finished with 57 wins, the best in the NBA. Earl Monroe's best season of his career came in 1969. He averaged 25.8 points on 44% shooting, 4.9 assists, and 3.5 rebounds per game. He finished runner-up for the scoring title. Although Wes Unseld was getting all the attention for their dominant season, Earl was extremely valuable to that team. But what makes him a truly special player is that he would raise his level of play in the playoffs. He started earning this reputation in the 1970 postseason. They were facing the New York Knicks, the team that many were calling one of the greatest ever. They excelled in so many different areas, but their biggest strength might have been their defense. they finished first in opponents' points per game and defensive rating. As great as they were, they had no answers for Earl Monroe. For that tough 7-game series, he scored over 30 points while shooting over 50% 3 times. He was putting up those kind of numbers even with the best perimeter defender guarding him, Walt Frazier. His size advantage didn't do much in stopping Monroe from scoring at will. He even told reporters, "I'm tired of dreaming of that cat. He's like a horror movie. It's a lot of sweat chasing him. He's such a good shooter. I say to myself, how can I stop him?" Although they ended up losing the series, they earned the respect of the league with the way they played the eventual champions. As great as that was, they were just getting started. At first, it seemed like their championship window was closing. Wes Unseld suffered an injury late in the year that caused him to go into a slump. Then Gus Johnson got hurt, and he was going to miss some time in the playoffs. This team seemed significantly worse than the previous 2 seasons. They only won 42 games. After nearly blowing a 3-1 series lead against Philadelphia in the semifinals, they had to face the Knicks once again. To make matters worse, Gus Johnson was going to miss the first 5 games. As the Knicks won their first 2 games at home, it seemed like the Bullets will lose against their bitter rivals for the 3rd straight postseason. But when they went back home to Baltimore, they won games 3 and 4 by over 20 points. They also forced them to shoot under 40% from the field in both games. Now, they knew what they had to do to beat this team, with defense and a balanced scoring attack. For the 2nd straight year, the series between the Bullets and the Knicks will be decided in the 7th game. The odds were against Baltimore, which had gone 1-8 at Madison Square Garden in their last 3 playoff series. It was extremely difficult to beat this team on the road in the playoffs. But in the final minutes, Earl Monroe, Jack Marin, and Fred Carter were able to make big shots. In the end, they were able to beat the defending champions 93-91. In just his 4th season, he was the scoring leader for a team that reached the finals. Not only that, they are tied for the 2nd lowest win percentage for a team that reached the finals. For them to accomplish that with one of their best players missing the majority of the series is impressive. Earl Monroe proved that he could be a valuable piece for a title contender. Unfortunately, they had their hands full trying to contain Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson in the finals. They were just too much to handle, and they swept the overachieving Baltimore Bullets. What's even more unfortunate is that Bullets fans couldn't see them build off that playoff run. And just 3 games into the next season, they decided to come to the tough decision of trading him. The team that he was sent to was their biggest rival, the Knicks. The city of New York was ecstatic that they would no longer have to worry about him. Now, he was on their side. But not everyone was convinced. Some basketball experts had some doubts about whether he could coexist with Walt Frazier. They both needed the ball to be effective. On top of that, this ultra-talented scorer needed to find a way to fit in with so many great offensive weapons. Would he be willing to sacrifice his numbers in order to win? Those doubts weren't fully answered in his first season there. He struggled a bit due to playing through bone spurs. He had to get surgery in the off-season after losing to the Lakers in the finals. In 1973, he was a valuable piece for this historic team. At that point, there was no backcourt in the league that was more lethal than what the Knicks had. They created so many mismatches, and they played very well together. Earl knew that he had to make sacrifices to his game so the team could reach its full potential. He mentioned to the New York Times that he stopped penetrating as much and became more of a perimeter shooter. He adapted to their style of working to get free shots by passing and constantly moving. Everybody knew that he was their most talented scorer, but he was happy with being their 4th leading scorer. He was willing to do anything to win a title. In the playoffs, their balanced scoring attack and strong defensive play allowed them to get through a very tough Boston Celtics team. They won 68 games in the regular season. However, the Knicks beat them in 7 games. Then in the finals, against the Los Angeles Lakers, he had a tremendous series. He averaged 16 points on 53% shooting and 4.2 assists per game. He made his mark by going right at Wilt Chamberlain. He saw that his teammates were hesitant to drive to the rim, but he showed no fear and was able to create offense for his team. Wilt said to reporters after Game 3 that Earl jerks the ball around you and he gives it away more than he used to. He tried to block his shot 3 times and he passed it off for easy shots. He was no longer just an expert at scoring the ball at will. He was now an expert on how to play winning basketball. Thanks to his extraordinary play, the Knicks won the series in 5 games. He was now a champion. All of his sacrifices made him a legend in New York, and he was able to figure it out right before the retirements of Willis Reed, Dave DeBusschere, and Jerry Lucas. By the time his career ended, he was selected as an All-Star 4 times and the All-NBA once. He doesn't have a long list of individual accolades like others, but what he did do was revolutionize the game. He introduced a playground style that is so prominent today. He proved that you could win playing that way. For a player who started out with so much style, he added substance in the end. But what about you all? What do you remember the most from his career? What is your favorite memory from this all-time great? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.